Okay, we were talking about liberals and libertarians, and I had mentioned to you just a second ago that when you share a side, this means basically that you're going to have partial agreement. So liberals and libertarians are going to believe in regulating, or pardon me, not regulating the moral issues. Well, when you're catty corner like this, meaning you don't share any sides, you're going to be the exact opposites. So if my liberals down here believe in regulating the wallet, but staying out of morals, then this other quadrant up here, which believes in regulating the morals and staying out of the wallet, you folks are going to be known as my conservatives. You folks are going to be known as my conservatives. And I got to be honest with you, it's not often that I get this many conservatives in one class, legitimate conservatives, and I think that this kind of fits. If you notice up here, Mike, Grace Dillon, Eric, Cole, and Rubel, all of you scored as far as conservative principles are concerned. And again, let's put this into context. Conservatives are going to believe that the government should stay out of economic issues. If I can work hard, if I get an education, if I can make my money, then indeed I should be able to keep it because I can spend my money for myself better than the government can spend it for me. It's just that simple. The idea is that we should receive tax breaks if we take the risk and open up businesses. I can spend my money better for me than the government can spend it for us as a country. And in fact, when you look at this, generally speaking, the conservatives are going to want to keep more based upon individual freedom to be able to grow, to be able to develop. Now, having said all this, the conservatives are going to believe in regulating the moral issues, meaning school prayer, yes. Abortion, no. Weed, no. And there's really not a lot of debate on these things. There's really not a lot of give, if you will, and take when you sit down and think about it. Their argument is, and think about it, the liberals down here are basically saying, we want to take from those who have and provide for those who don't, because some people aren't going to be able to make it, and as a community, we need to care for all of them. Well, conservatives are going to have that same attitude when it comes to moral issues. Their argument is going to be, sometimes people can't make decisions for themselves. They need guidance. They need regulation. In fact, they crave it. So when you put this into context, we're going to make certain things required or make certain things legal for the betterment of the people that really don't know how to make the decisions for themselves. And again, liberals talk about this in terms of economic issues. Conservatives talk about this in terms of morals. Now, when you look at this up here, Mike, you are the proverbial moderate. And Mike, you surprised me a little bit on this. But on 4 of the 7, you said that the government should stay out of your wallet. And on 4 of the 7, you believe that the government should regulate morals. So with this in mind, whether it was weed, whether it was abortion, whether it was gay marriage, these kinds of things that we all talked about, or the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem only being recited in English, 4 of those 7 times you believe that the government should take the lead and maybe make some requirements. On 4 of the 7 in terms of wallet, you said the government should stay out. So, but depending upon the issue, really if you change one question, you could be in any of these 4, but for our purposes, you're conservative leaning. Grace Dillon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On 6 of the 7, Grace, you said that the government should stay out of your wallet. So you are very strongly conservative in this regard. Individual freedom in terms of money issues. On 4 of the 7, though, Grace, you believe that the government should regulate morals. So depending upon the issue, there are certain freedoms that you want, but depending upon the issue, there are certain things that you believe should be prohibited. So with this in mind, you're very moderate, just like Mike, in terms of the moral issues, but you're much stronger because you're further away from the center on the economic ones. Eric, Cole, and Rubel, 1, 2, 3. On 5 of the 7 questions, y'all all said that the government should stay out of the wallet. So you're all very, very solid conservatives in that regard. But if you notice, you're on completely different lines. Eric, on 5 of the 7, you said the government should regulate morals, so you're a good, strong conservative in terms of morals. Cole, you didn't answer all of the questions, but on 6 of the questions that you did answer, you believe that the government should actually regulate the moral issues, so you're very strong. But Rubel, you are the anti-Jorge and the anti-bartender. Because whereas they were 7 for 7 saying the government should stay out of morals, Rubel, you were 7 for 7 in saying that the government should regulate it. So you do have a thought that the government should strongly regulate these types of issues for people that can't necessarily get it on their own. These are conservatives. Now, the last group, and the last group, again, is going to be opposite of the libertarians. The libertarian said stay out of the bedroom. The libertarian said stay out of the wallet. So this last group is going to be government regulating the bedroom and government regulating the wallet. You folks are what are going to be known as my populists. Populists believe that government is there to help Joe and Jane six-pack. Government is there to help the little man or the little woman in society. So the sense of it is that we need to help, we need to regulate, we need to uplift these people, and we need to do it in both moral and economic issues because frankly they can't do it on their own. You go take a walk in a Walmart on any Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon and you look around, and that's not to say that Walmart is a bad place to shop, it's not. But there would be people that would be buying things that they have no business buying. Maybe they can't afford them. Maybe they're practicing immorality when they do it. These kinds of things. And you'll see this. And the government is saying those are the people that we're there for. We're not trying to rule their lives so much as we're basically trying to set them up so that they can follow the pattern that will make them a good citizen. Of course, we're kind of dictating this. Now, if you notice, Zoran and Rick, 4 of 7 and 4 of 7. You both said that the government should regulate morals and bedroom, but you're the moderates. So if you change one question, you could fall in any of the 4 quadrants. Rick, I can see this because you seem to change issue by issue. Zoran, you're from Serbia, so I believe that you do have some dictatorial control issues, but that's another story for another day. Kurt and Martin, 1, 2, 3. On 5 of the 7, you believe that the government should regulate morals, but only on 4 of the 7 do you believe that you should regulate wallet issues. So basically, Martin and Kurt, you're both solid conservatives in terms of regulating morals, but again, depending upon the issue, maybe you're not as big in terms of regulating the money issues. Now, the danger with populists is that if you want to try, and the danger is, as government, you have a tendency of thinking that you can help people. And the more that you help people, obviously, the more that you're going to want to help them more. Well, the problem is that if you try to help people too much, especially if you become you can especially become dictators actually out of this. And the sense is that if you help them a little bit, you'll keep trying. And if they struggle with this, then indeed, well, you know what? You're going to try and regulate more and more, and you're going to regulate them harder, and you're going to impose stiffer penalties. There's one person that could conceivably, and this might not even be the best example, but Loretta is actually the closest to being the class dictator. Because if you look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on 6 of the 7, she believed in regulating wallet issues. But notice on this, she actually has the same moral views as Grace Dillon, Mike, Zoran, Rick, and then obviously Loretta there. Morals are a little bit more, dare I say, dependent upon the issue that's at stake. Now when you look at this, conservatives are going to believe that the government should regulate morals and stay out of the wallet. Populists are going to believe that the government should regulate both for the betterment of the people, but indeed sometimes there's a danger, and that danger is that they could get frustrated and try and improve the people too much, and that's where dictators come from, extreme populists. Loretta might not be the best example of this. Now let me give you one last thing to think about, and you're probably noticing up here that there are way more liberals than there are conservatives, and that's typical. When you really sit down and you think about it, if you were going to plot when you were conservative and when you were liberal, when you're a younger person, you are going to be more liberal than you will be at any other time in your life. Now, this is not to say that you're going to be liberal when you're younger. This is just to say that you're going to be the most liberal. Now, what I'm basically saying here, think about it. I mean, you're in college now. If you're in college, 19, 20, 21, whatever the case might be, you're probably not married, you probably don't have kids, you probably don't have that first big job, you probably don't have a mortgage or a home, you're probably not worried about health insurance, rightly or wrongly. When you think about it, you got nothing to lose. It's easier to want to shake up the system a little bit more to try and push for change because you've got nothing that you're thinking about. Well, when you get to middle age, you typically become as conservative as you will ever be. And think about it like this. Now, at middle age, 30, 40, maybe even 50 years old, now you've got stuff. You've got the good job. College has been graduated from. The good job. You've got the big paycheck. You've got a mortgage and a home, maybe even a vacation home, a nice car. Not only do you have a spouse and maybe a divorce and maybe another spouse, but you've also got kids at this point. So when you think about it, you become more conservative because at this point you need government more. You have more things that the government needs to protect. Now, at the end of your life, when you start getting into the 70s, you start getting into the 80s, you start getting into the 90s, you become more liberal again. And again, it will make sense. You don't have the big job anymore because you're retired. You don't have the mortgage payment anymore because the house is paid off. You don't have the kids living at home, hopefully, because they've gone off to college and they've moved on. And in fact, you're probably still just married and enjoying the golden years. And you've got time to be able to go get involved in things. When you think about it in its most grand scheme of things, the liberals, the younger folks, want drugs legal. And when you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, the older folks want their drugs paid for too. So in the big picture, at the beginning and at the end, you're more liberal because you need more from government at those times. But in the middle, you're going to be more conservative because you've got more stuff and you're more dependent upon yourself. To kind of come back to this map, it seems to fit. Colleges are typically more liberal, and if you notice up here, 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 of the class scored that way. Only 5 were conservatives. We did have 5 populists. We did have 4 libertarians. But in the grand scheme of things, the concentration is down here in the liberal. As you get older, this isn't to say that Chloe is going to move up here where Eric is, but it's to say that Chloe's going to move more to the center, and then people like Ruben and Rita are probably going to move over where Mike is, because that's kind of the natural progression of things. For the exam, please make sure you understand the relationship of government regulation of bedroom and wallet for libertarian, liberal, conservative, and populist.